Hi, this is Dave Hartman, and you're listening to The 3Gun Show. Welcome to The 3Gun Show, episode 52, the final episode of 2015. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and this show is like a highlight reel of sorts. I wanted to do something special for the last show of the year, and I thought it might be kind of cool to take a look at a lot of the standout clips from the previous 51 episodes. I'm pretty excited to be in this position I'm standing in right now to do like a retrospective of the year of 2015, because when I started this in January, I was really nervous. I was nervous to put myself out there for the criticism and for the review of the shooting world, right? Now, if you've ever done like a best man speech, or if you've ever done a speech at your like company gathering or something like that, you know what it's like to have like all eyes on you. Now, throw in like the anonymous scrutiny of social media, and I was expecting the worst. and luckily, it didn't turn out that way. It's been very well received by the shooting community, by the 3Gun community. All my guests were very gracious. They were excited to be on the show. They were excited to participate. They're very generous in telling their story and talking about themselves, which can sometimes be hard, especially for gun guys like us that don't like to open up. And one thing I found is that it's been a lot of fun, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback from the community. I've met a bunch of great people I never would have met before. It got me out to travel to matches and do these interviews, and meeting people face to face is something I wanted to do from the start, and do these interviews face to face. So getting the opportunity to do that has been just absolutely amazing. But to go back to like how nervous I was to start this show, the funniest thing that I can think of my very first interview was with Greg Jordan, and I had in my mind that I was going to do this thing where I would ask everybody what their walkout song would be, and it would be like a cool icebreaker, and then I would play that song, and it would be like a good intro to the show. I've since stopped doing that just because of copyright issues, but it was a great icebreaker. It was a good thing, but the first 5 people, 6 people that I interviewed had no clue that I was going to ask this question, so they were unprepared for it. And one thing that I found out is I think about my walkout song all the time. Like, I think I have this thing with guys at work. We joke about like, hey, you're coming to work, it's Monday morning, what's your intro song today? And then we just kind of joke around about that. But as I found out when I asked Greg, apparently not everyone thinks about that. When 3Gun gets big enough, mm-hmm. I'm sure they'll play music after they announce your name, like in baseball or UFC fights. What song would you want them to play for you?
Wow. I've never thought of anything like that before.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, you got me stumped on that one, Dave. That's a tough one right out of the gate, man.
Luckily, Greg was able to come up with a song, but the very first question of the 3Gun Show had fallen flat. Now, one of the big reasons that I wanted to start the show is through like social media and watching shooters on 3Gun Nation over the years. I've found that you get like kind of like the skim, the base layer of, or not the base layer, like the cream on top or whatever. You get like the outward image of who people are, and I thought it was kind of cool to do like a deep dive with people and have it be like long format, and find out how they think about the game, where they came from, like, a little bit of their background and everything. And as I found out with Diana Muller, some of those stories are quite fun.
So I started going to some USPSA matches and fell in with a group of guys that I absolutely adored, more so than I adore some caddy barrel racing women, so it kind of just grew, from that. I'm going to assume my barrel racing friends aren't listening.
No, actually, we're real big with barrel racers, so watch what you say.
Okay. Well, I love them, but they can be catty, and guys are growing up. Working for the past 20 years, and police work around more guys. It just seems like maybe that suits my fancy a little bit better, and a little bit more laid back.
Cool.
I know us ladies can be high maintenance.
No comment.
Smart man.
Another question that I asked quite a bit, throughout this whole series, and I've kind of gotten away from lately, is what is your most spectacular disqualification? And there's been some great stories, and no one really had like an aversion to answering that like I thought they might. There was one person that declined to answer, no big deal. And, it actually, when the show first came out, it caused kind of a little bit of a storm on the Facebook page. There was a USPSA shooter or IPSC shooter, I can't remember which, who took issue with it. And so I kind of reached out to the greater audience and said, what do you think of this? And tagged some of the guests that had already been on the show and asked the question. And I found that, most people in 3-gun, especially when they're not at a match, they're okay with answering that question because a lot of people can learn from it. And a lot of people are pretty good at laughing with us about themselves. So a good example of this is Chris Anderson.
Well, Chris, I have a couple of wrap-up questions for you here. First, can you tell me about your most spectacular disqualification?
I was waiting on that. I have.
Well, I feel like I was a nice guy because I didn't ask you when you're in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
I saved it for the post-match.
I had an interesting year last year with that stuff. I had a couple of disqualifications and in Texas, but one of them in particular involved me running basically flat out. Let me back up. Texas multi-gun, I had shot the year before and had finished second at it. So it was really kind of marked on my calendar as one that I wanted to win. And, it set up well for me, and the way that the stages are typically designed are just tailor-made for the way I like to shoot. And so I drove down the week before, almost a month before, and shot some of the really simple stages with the ROs, knowing that there was going to be a Pro Series match the weekend of the match. So I shot the Pro Series match in Tulsa, like 2 weeks following. I got in my car and I drove to Austin that night with another guy and basically shot the remaining stages of the match that next day, which was Sunday. So I shot the whole match. I'm on the last stage. I am doing quite well, based on just what I was looking at with match results and everything. And the last stage they had a rifle array where we were shooting kind of static, and you ran into a building, and I was running literally as fast as I could, and got tripped up on a loose plank or a weird transition going onto this platform going to the building, and basically it took my feet out from under me. And I've got my rifle in my hands. I'm trying to get it around, in front of me, but there's one of the supports on the bridge catches my muzzle and kicks my muzzle back and breaks the 180. And, in the midst of me doing literally nothing except trying to keep my muzzle from going back, I don't have my hands down or anything else. And so imagine just running as fast as you can, and diving and landing on your face. And that's pretty much what I did. So,
man.
So I went out in a big way. That was, I think I got more YouTube play for that than if I'd have won the match, but it was quite a mess. So nobody got hurt in the grand scheme of things. I did tear my shoe, and I had a pretty good bruise on my collarbone and stuff, but I was okay. It's mostly just ego, and you got to kind of laugh at yourself a little bit with that stuff. I mean, I was pushing hard, and I was trying to be. We have safety rules for a reason, when I walked up to that stage, there was a young shooter, there was a little kid. They were letting me shoot through to kind of catch up. This was my last stage, and when I got to that stage, there was a little kid there that had just gotten disqualified for breaking the 180 inside this building that I was running into. And I took the time to talk to him about the fact that this happens to everybody. It's part of it. It's going to happen. You gotta there's people that have either been DQ'd or are going to. And, I told them about instances where it's happened to me, and then I just proceeded to go right up there and DQ right in front of them after I give them the speech. So I'd like to pretend that I did that on purpose just to help out a kid, but I can't take that.
Stand back, boy. Let me show you how this is done.
Let me show you how to DQ.
The common theme in this episode is the common theme in the show, and it's having fun. And that's my goal here, is to have fun. This would suck if it wasn't any fun, because I do work a long time on these, like this edit of this podcast here. As I'm speaking now, I'm 12 hours into it. So and it's not even done. So who knows how long it's going to take. It does take a long time to do this stuff, but I enjoy it. And I enjoy the reaction that I get from the fans, and I enjoy that you enjoy it. Like, I'm doing it for you. But so back to the fun thing. There's times when someone will say something so unexpected that it just cracks me up, and it sticks out in your head. Like when Jerry Michalek was talking about his Mossberg shotgun.
One thing about the Mossberg guns, they're really fast. You can get down 1,200 splits with them if you can stand up on it,
Wow.
So it'll sing a song if you're man enough to hump it. It'll sing,
That's awesome. Another good example is when Jesse Tischhauser picked out his walkout song.
When 3-Gun gets big enough, I'm sure they'll play music after they announce your name, like in baseball or UFC fights. What song would you want them to play for you?
What song would they play for me? We had this discussion multiple times, and I think I change it every time. It's Raining Man, maybe?
It's Raining Man. Jesus.
Or when Becky Yackley tried to plead the fifth when I asked about her background. So we know you've got like a shooting pedigree that we're going to get into quite a bit here, but why don't you just tell us briefly who you are off the range?
Who I am off the range. That's not what you said you were going to ask me.
Another thing I found out that totally makes sense when you think about it, but I had not anticipated, is that absolutely everybody knows each other, right? And whether they're like best friends and they share dinners with their wives and their families and things of that nature, or if they're just like surface friends that they see each other on the match and they're friendly, everybody knows each other. And they know each other so well that often they'll do impressions of each other. Like the time that Craig Outson did an impression of Taron Butler doing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hello, folks. Good to see you. I'm Taron Butler. I'm here for live broadcast from the 3-Gun Nation Nationals, telling you some stories. So one time I was traveling with Kim Shieldon, and I found my mattress was not conducive to my back problems. So I begged Kim several times, will you trade your mattress with me? Because he would not trade his room. So we had to carry the mattresses down the hallway and down the stairs and down to my room, because you guys know I do not stay on the second floor. I need to be able to escape through the windows in case there's any kind of impending attack. Subsequently, as we were changing the mattresses...
You got to put the mic back in the same spot.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Subsequently, as we were changing the mattresses, Kim became well known as to what I keep in my room, which is a top secret thing. Ergo, I'm still trying to kill him.
Now you're probably saying, I've never heard that one before. Well, yeah, I referenced it in one of the shows, but no, you haven't heard that one before. I wanted to make sure it was cool with Craig before I did that, or before I played it for you. But there's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff that ends up on the editing room floor. And a lot of these conversations that I have with my guests, we'll talk for an hour afterwards, and just the conversation just doesn't stop. They're just like good people, and sometimes we're not even talking about 3-Gun. But one of the other ones that ended up on the editing room floor is another one from 3-Gun Nation Nationals, and it's Keith Garcia doing Andy Peterson.
So what's the line?
It's you don't need to stick to the line. Make it your own. But
My
it's
very own.
Yeah. Hey, this is Andy Peterson. You're listening to the 3-Gun Show with Dave Hartman. It doesn't need to be that fast either.
Dave Hartman.
Would you please say this is Andy Peterson, Slug Master?
And
No, I will not. I will not say that. That's mean. That's really mean.
And hey,
That knife is just getting deeper and deeper.
okay, go ahead.
This is Andy Peterson. What was my line again? So I don't do this for a living, Keith. This is Andy Peterson, and you are listening to the 3-Gun Show with Dave Hartman.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This was your tryout. I want you to know that. We're going to get you on the show.
How you doing, Keith?
No pauses. I'm going to do Andy's because he should have done it better. Hi, this is Andy Peterson, the Slugmaster, and you're listening to the 3-Gun Show with Dave Hartman.
Now, it's been a couple months, and I'm sure the wounds have healed, and Andy's okay with me playing that one. But I just couldn't resist because that was pretty funny. Another thing that I found out that, again, I should have known, but wasn't quite expecting, is a lot of the stories don't actually center on shooting. That these matches are very, very social. And again, it seems silly to think that we could talk about shooting for an entire hour, but a lot of times the stories that like how to get to the match creep in, pranking each other and stuff like that, and it's just the same way with me and my shooting buddies. And a great example of that is Nick Atkinson telling the story of how him and Kyle Samank turned a Altima into a race car.
We're at, so we got the idea because we always leave the night before and drive all night because then that way we don't have to take an extra day off work and stuff like that. So we'll leave at like 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever. So at about 3 a.m., I think we were in Arkansas or Alabama, or I don't know. This tells you how out of it I was.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we're in the middle of BFE basically. And we're like, you know what? Let's find a Walmart and put some racing stripes on this car. So we're driving a 2014 Nissan Altima. It was white. And we stopped at Walmart in wherever it was. It wasn't the best neighborhood, let's put it that way. We're out there at 3 o'clock in the morning. Mosquitoes eating us alive. And the only kind of tape that they had that really – we didn't run the risk of pulling paint off the car or anything like that, was blue painter's tape. So we laid down some racing stripes, and then we're like, hey, we're doing some racing stripes. Why don't we just make this a full-blown race car? Let's tape all the seams, right? So we taped up the whole front grille. We taped all around the headlights. We taped the doors closed. From then on, we climbed in and out of the windows.
Yes.
We taped the trunk shut. Everything, right? We used like 4 rolls of blue painter's tape on this car. And then we're like, we're going to Kentucky, right? We're in the South. Let's put some stars and bars on the roof of this thing, like the Dukes of Hazzard, right? Yeah. So we go in and get some scissors and some construction paper and some more blue tape, and then some clear tape to put over that so we could put the stars on it. And we laid that. I mean, this was an awesome job. We put the stars and bars across the top, and we cruised that thing into Kentucky. And I remember stopping at one gas station, and there's this maybe 18, 19-year-old kid working in the gas station. He's just kind of staring at us as we climb out the windows. We fill up with gas, and one of us goes in to grab something, and then because we always take turns going in because we got like $15,000 worth of stuff in this car. So Kyle would go in. And then I would go in or whatever. I think in this case, I went in first, and he's just kind of staring at me as I walk in, and then I walk back out. And Kyle goes in, and as he's coming out, the kid goes, "Is that a race car?" And Kyle, as he's climbing in the driver's side window, goes, "Yep, full blown race car," and neutral drops it out of the parking lot. We're gone.
Now it's not always fun and games. We do cover serious topics as well, and one of the serious topics that we discussed during the Travis Gibson interview, his first one, was speaking to junior shooters, like how you talk to junior shooters, and then specifically your kids, right? And this one was cool because I got a lot of feedback on this, and I got feedback on this from guys in my life that are not competitive shooters, but they do have children, and maybe they're football coaches or, basketball coaches or something of that nature. But it really struck a chord to to a lot of people with how they speak to their children about their athletic performance.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Dave. And that's something where a couple of years ago, when I came to this realization, it's something that I've really tried to pass on to a bunch of people, because I see, what I call pageant dads. They're out there with their kid, and the kid comes up, and one of the things that I've really tried to do with my son, and it's not my job to parent other people's kids, and they're doing it however they think is best. I'm fine with that, but it just kills me, when you see a kid come back and the dad says, "What the heck happened?" Instead of saying something like, "You shot the pistol portion really well on that stage." They don't say that. They say, "What'd you do with that shotgun?" Or "How come you missed all those rifle targets?" And it's all about, I'm not a big aura guy, and like happy-go-feely, whatever. But I mean, it's just, my son and I have really tried to focus on what went good on that stage. And when he comes back, for a couple of years, that's what I ask him. I said, "What'd you like about that stage?" And he'd have to sit there and think about it. He said, "I did this really, really, really good." But the question I would never ask him is, what went bad? I would never ask him that. I would say, "What do you want to improve on?" Okay, so it's always got that positive reinforcement. Like, what do you want to do better? It's not like, what did you do bad? It's like, what do you want to do better on the next one? And what can we work on when we get home? It's always, having kind of that positive reinforcement about everything. And it's just a matter of, it's a complete mindset change that you have to get into. And I really think that has a lot of bearing on how I've been able to, like we were talking about earlier, not think about the stages that didn't go as good as I wanted them to. It's all about, being positive, moving on. What went good? Okay. What do you want to improve on? And it's always having those positive words and thoughts in there. I think that just makes a huge difference. And even if it doesn't help your shooting, it's going to make you have more fun,
Oh, yeah. It's going to make for an overall happier life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's, like I said, I'm not really one of those touchy-feely guys, but I really think that's something that's helped, improve both me and my son's shooting. Is just, we're not going to focus on the bad stuff, and even when things don't go as good as we want them to, that's an area for improvement, is what we call them.
One of the things I think that we take for granted as competitive shooters is safety, and I don't think we take it for granted in the fact that we disrespect it. I think we take it for granted in the fact that we are so used to shooting safely and to following the rules and things like that, that we don't consider a situation where someone may not follow the rules. So it's good to get that brain checked every now and then. And as Brian Ray recently stated on the podcast, it's something you need to keep in mind at all times. And but as a final thought, that can be kind of a downer. So Brian Vaught comes in and brings that one back to the fun side of things.
My one final thought and piece of advice would be, above all other things within this game, never lose sight of the fact that we are using real firearms, firing real ammunition that have the capacity and ability to change people's lives forever in the event that somebody is unsafe. And, I think that that's one thing I've seen over the last couple of years. Now, I don't want to be a downer here right at the end of the show, but, in the quest to go fast, we've seen some safety rules relaxed a little bit across the board. And we've seen people that push at times what turns out to be a little too far and a little too hard. And, no time on a scorecard is worth doing something that you can't take back. So safety, whether you've been shooting, it's your first match ever, or you've been shooting 10 years, never lose sight of the fact that, you got to be safe. I wish I had something that was a little, happier to finish on than that, because I'm kind of depressed now after going through that. But
I know that was really a letdown.
Well,
can you think of something else? I mean, what about one of the things that does also help? A lot of people don't think that this helps, but if you can wear like a flashy kind of underwear, it will help you go faster. You have to have some go fast underwear. So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, for a major match, you really need 3 pair of go fast underwear because they get crusty enough by the end of the 3rd day. If you only have 1 pair, it's really slowing you down.
Yeah, jockeys work the best. There's no such thing as a pair of go fast boxers. It just doesn't exist.
You got to go with the like tidy whities, but maybe like a cool design and some space age fabric or something.
Mine are the Flash. Mine are the Flash version of the underoos. Have the they have the lightning bolt right up front on the fly there.
All right.
I'm serious now. These things work.
Now, as I said earlier, actually getting out and going to these matches was huge for the show. It was huge for me, and making the face to face with people that I had interviewed, and shaking hands, taking pictures, and stuff like that, and making those contacts for future interviews, and also interviewing at the same time at matches was great. A good example of this is the 3GA Nation Nationals in Tulsa. I knew that I wanted to go there. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. I knew that, a lot of the people that I interviewed were going to be there. So, and it was like, I want to go and meet these amazing people that I've spoken to and have been so gracious and everything and shake hands and stuff. But, one of the, I can't remember where this idea came from. It might've been from Nick Atkinson, mentioning, God, I can't remember the golf guy's name, but the golf announcer when Nick and I were talking, but the idea came up of doing like a live play-by-play of the pro shoot-off. I grabbed all my recording equipment, and I was sitting there in the seats and looking around, and I found a couple of the previous guests that I had on. Jacob Betzworth was the first one. I said, Jacob, we should do a live running commentary of the match here. And he said, yeah, absolutely. Seconds later, we had Lance Stingler on the line. Rick Birdsall joined me later. And then John McClain, Diana Muller, Nick Atkinson after that. And, it was like 2.5 hours of just like talking during the pro shoot off. And it was amazing. It turned out great. And, kind of synced it up a little bit like, Wizard of Oz and Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd style to the live stream that 3GA Nation did. And 3GA Nation took note of that. Pete Brown reached out to me and he's like, hey, Dave, we need to do something. And they took my MP3 and their video and put them together, created like a little 1.5 hour feature with their video and the commentary that we did. And it actually flowed together really well.
So now it's time for the main event of the night, our 3GA Nation Pro Series Championship. 2 of the best competitors in the world, Daniel Horner taking on Greg Jordan for the title and $50,000 from Leupold Optics and NRA Sports. Let's go, folks. Give them a round of applause as they get ready.
True.
That's right.
Yeah. You get the Clydesdale going, you can't stop it. Give me the sound effect.
I actually did that during the stage.
Just happened. He did that. I witnessed
in the middle of
the
stage.
I witnessed this. Yes, that
the
was
longest
amazing.
stage you had to fire thing.
Well, you guys have been talking here.
Right, here we
Greg
go.
and Daniel are ready to go.
All right,
Back
my
to
prediction:
duties.
Greg on number 1.
I'm calling shotgun.
I'm calling Greg on number 1.
All right, here's the
I'm
run.
going with my teammate Greg.
Looks like,
Looks like Greg a little first.
So close.
Got
does
Greg
that
shooting
quad
shotgun
load, though.
first.
Greg's down
loading
for his
that A5.
A5.
And they're off exactly
Dead even. Dead even to the
Holy
rifle.
cow.
Greg had a first shot miss. Dan missed round 3.
Wow, they
even.
come off
One miss
exactly
apiece.
even. And now
This
they're into the
is a
pistol. They are exactly even coming in, and Horner absolutely lays down a pistol.
Oh, my God.
So, just to give you guys an idea what just happened there,
Tell us what happened there, Jacob.
Horner laid down a pistol run all the way to the stop plate. Greg was probably 4 plates behind him, and Horner shot about 6 rounds at the stop plate, missing it. He ended up hitting it and just snuck it underneath Greg's.
Yeah,
I tell you what, those guys had a ton of misses on the pistol. Greg's all happened at the beginning of the run, and Daniel's all happened at the end of the run.
It's a testament to, when you get to this level, how close these people are in skill.
So yeah, and we're all pushing so hard. I mean, you realize what it takes to actually, seal the deal and get that stop plate down. Even when guys at this speed throw that many misses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
So Daniel's sneaking underneath Greg. How tall is Daniel?
5'10".
Just run right between his legs.
Daniel's 5'10".
No, 5'8".
5'10". Yeah,
You're
right.
6'8"
On a
then.
step
Yeah,
stool.
come on.
I wish I was 6'8".
Man.
It'd make the 310 sound a lot better.
Sneaking under is easy when you're short.
I mentioned earlier that I was going to tell you what the top 5 most popular podcasts were for 2015 based on download numbers. And the first one here is with Jansen Jones, and it comes in at number 5. And the interview with Jansen was great. And Jansen opened up, and I realized like the power of this medium, this long form. And we talked about topics that you ordinarily would never even hear the surface of in other types of media.
I do think that there's something to be said for the guys that are willing to put in the time and effort and never give up. And you're seeing that in 3-Gun. There are definitely guys that are putting in the time and effort and working really hard. And then you're seeing some people that, they're here today, gone tomorrow. But, for me, that's been the motto for my life. It's hard work pays off. You get what you put in. I believe in that to my core.
Coming in at number 4 is Keith Garcia. And Keith's episode number 2 was fantastic for many different reasons, and not the least of which was that Keith is a great talker, and this was good for me as a newbie interviewer, because I didn't have to do much. I just asked a few questions, and Keith did a lot of talking, and some amazing information came out, including how to practice and how to think about your practice.
Because the disciplines, I break them down into shooting, weapon manipulation, and transition. So anytime you're pulling the trigger, what I harp on people is you need to know what the acceptable sight picture is for the target that you're shooting. Because if I'm shooting a 5-yard target,
right,
that sight picture is pretty loose. But if I'm shooting a 50-yard target with a handgun, that sight picture and that trigger control is totally different. So you need to not only think about it and process, but you need to go out and actually set up a steel target at these different distances, not at 5, but at 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, all the way up to 50, and actually shoot the targets, interact with the targets, figure out how fast you can actually shoot and get that second hit. See what you need to do with the trigger. And then your brain will record those things, and it'll say, okay, this is the speed I can shoot at 25. This is the speed that I can shoot at 50. Because when you're interacting with paper targets that don't react, you need to know what the acceptable sight picture is without getting that feedback. But if you've got that training, that feedback in your head from when you were shooting steel, you will know. You'll know exactly how fast it'll take you for those sights to recover and how the trigger should feel when you've got to shoot those paper targets at 35, 45, and 50, or you have to take that 15-yard headshot with a no shoot. So those are the things that I break down, and those are the things that I teach people and say, hey, when people come to my class, I say, I'm going to show you what and how to train. Okay, so when you're going to get all this information, people take notes, and I say, you got to go back now and take that information and apply it in your training. You can take this as far as you want it when it comes down to how much effort you're going to put into it.
The number 3 most popular 3-Gun Show podcast is with Taryn Butler, another guy that did a lot of heavy lifting for me. And Taryn had just absolutely amazing stories, and his impressions are just hilarious. And he's just such a real sweet dude. And this is a great story that he tells here about the first time he met James Cameron. And the reason I like it is his perspective is young, hungry, broke Taryn Butler. And, it's his first entry into the Hollywood scene.
The first person I ever met that kind of got me going with that a little bit was Jim Cameron back in '97. And I had no celebrities here before that. And my friend, I mentioned before, John Richling, he's this awesome guy. He's a personal trainer in all the killer gyms in L.A. And he's like, I'm bringing James Cameron out to shoot. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Back then I was just some nerd shooting pistol all the time with long hair like a dork, and I loved all the Terminator and Alien movies and everything. I'm like, yeah, right, James Cameron's coming out. Yeah, in about 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, sure. See you at the Waterbury Open. So finally, he's like, he's coming tomorrow. I'm like, are you serious? James Cameron's coming here? He's like, yes, he's coming. I'm like, oh, my God. So I'm like thinking through this one-time experience meeting him. I go up on the mountain, and I didn't have all my mindless steel back then and all the cool stuff I have now, so I set up all these idiotic water jugs over the hill. I got my AUG out, and my HKs, all this exotic cool stuff, ARs and Benellis and craziness. And then I've got some Infinity on my hip, and I wasn't a 3-gun guy yet or whatever, so he rolls up in a couple of these Hummers. Got a little few guys with him. If you ever watch Titanic, there's a fat guy with a smiley shirt on his chest with a bullet hole in his head. He's the one like, this is how the Titanic broke. So I broke in half here, and then it pulled everybody under and killed them all. So that's that's his friend. He helps him write stuff, whatever. And William Abernathy. So he rolls up, a couple other guys, and they all go running for the exotics. And Jim's like, comes straight to me, and he's like, I understand you're really good with a handgun. I'm like, yeah. He's like, can you show me? I'm like, yes. He pulls up this little Combat Commander stainless he's had since he got it on Terminator 2. The trainer guy got him the gun, and he's got a total major Weaver stance, cup and saucer thing going on. I'm like, oh my God. It's super low elbow, the whole thing sideways. And so I'm trying to fix it and get it all going. And he's just like, stop. I'm like, oh my God, I pissed off James Cameron, my idol. He's like, before I change another thing, I need to see you shoot. I'm just like, So I've got these 8 IPSC targets, all brand new, lined up in a big row. And I swear to God, Jesus Christ shot through me. It was awesome. I just drew the gun out of this Limcat holster. He's like, how is that gun suspended off your hip? It's raging. It's like telekinesis. So I draw the pistol, just like, just shred these targets, 2 alphas each, every one of them. Holster the gun super slow motion fast. He's like, dude, holy shit though! Did you see that shit? Did you guys see that shit? Show me the grip. What are you talking about? How to change the grip in the elbow? And it was awesome. And then he's like, I'm going to pay you. I want to come here every Thursday and learn from you. I'm like, holy crap. Super broke back then. And
you're going to pay me too?
Yeah. So for years, I trained him for years. And I was like running out of ideas. It was good I got into 3-gun because I was milked out on the handgun stuff. So super great guy. I ended up building him an Infinity with the serial number Lightstorm Entertainment on the side of it, and he asked a lot of questions like, what's the barrel made out of? Well, it's stainless steel. What's that gold coating? Well, that's like an ion bond. What's the hammer? I go, what's this unobtainium thing going on in there? So then, like years later, I'm watching Avatar.
Oh no!
I'm watching Avatar in 2008. Right, movie's totally kick-ass in 3D. It's over. I haven't talked to him in a while because, just when he got married, his wife's like super anti-gun, whatever. So he's got busy with Avatar. So I hadn't talked to him in like 2 years. So I call him up. I'm like, and he answers. He's like, Taryn. I'm like, Jim, that movie was raging. He's like, you liked it? I go, yeah, it was freaking awesome. He's like, oh, you like the guns? I'm like, yeah, the guns are totally state of the art. You like that revolver that I had the bad guy shoot Sigourney Weaver with? I'm like, I love that gun. So we're talking. I go, unobtainium. He's like, I know. I got it from Infinity.
The number 2 most popular podcast was with Patrick Kelly. And Patrick is just a wealth of information, and his interview was so much fun as well, because not only is like I said, is he full of information and is willing to tell you all that information, but he's very entertaining in his delivery as well, and he makes it very understandable. And one of the things that Patrick is famous for is busting shotgun myths and fixing your ill-fitting shotgun.
Shotguns, misunderstood. People just buy them and use them. Almost no one has a properly fit shotgun. Look at all the ladies shooting. And unfortunately, I want to write something that says, dads, quit making your sons and daughters shoot 14.5-inch length of pull guns. But it's hard to get them to do that because there's a financial component involved. They're shooting dad's shotgun. Well, they got to make do with what they got. But the quickest way to have someone not want to shoot a shotgun is have them shoot one that's ill-fitting. That was the reason behind the shotgun fitting article, because nobody really knew about it. There's some articles in some UK publications and in the sporting clays world, when I shot lots of sporting clays over the year. I shot sporting clays before I shot 3-gun. And shotgun fits everything. You just want to look at the target and pull the trigger. That gun should already be fit. So I just applied the basics of gun fitting to 3-gun with a twist. And again, I'm getting verbose. You know I told you I would be. What happens?
That's totally cool.
Cool. Okay. The other element in shotgunning at speed, other than just the gun fitting you for length of pull and where your face rides in relationship to the sights, is pitch. Now, pitch is the angle of the butt plate or the recoil pad in relationship to the sights that are level. So you take the gun, basically flip the gun upside down, put it on a hard surface. So now you have a datum line. Datum line is the hard surface. Now, if you go up the recoil pad, and if it's perpendicular to that, that's not a good thing. It's going to be pitched. It's going to have an angle to it one way or the other. And I'll give you the simple part of it. When you shoulder the shotgun, I'm looking at a picture of you shooting right now. Your shotgun fits you rather well. 2 elements. One,
hey, all right.
The recoil pad needs to fit at heel and toe. In other words, the top of the pad, the high part that's closest to your cheek is the heel. The bottom part is the toe. If they're both in full contact with your shoulder, the shotgun's not going to go up or down. It's going to go straight back. If just the toe is touching the bottom of it and there's a big gap at the heel, what's going to happen to the recoil? The gun's going to want to fill that gap. To fill that gap, the muzzle has to lift. And the reverse is also true. If it's only hitting at the heel and missing at the toe when the gun goes bang, it's going to go down. Muzzle's going to drop. Grasshopper. Muzzle down isn't so bad. But full contact is best. That way you're always riding the recoil. You can only run it so fast anyway. So that's element number 1, is having full contact patch. Yet you have to have that with the stock adjusted so your eyeball's in the right plane for the sights. So those are independent. You can adjust one and it affects the other. So you have to understand the relationship. Again, that's why I wrote the article, because it's misunderstood. And the other one is length of pull. Almost everyone runs a shotgun too long because we do 2 things that nobody else does in the shotgunning world. Not only do we mount quickly, we dismount quickly. So a slightly shorter than normal length shotgun is an advantage to all of us. I'm looking at you right now. You run your thumb over the top. Most people run the thumb over their strong hand. Your trigger finger hand is over the top of the stock. And it's within about an inch of your nose. That's correct. Inch and a half max. You see lots of younger shooters and lady shooters, because their shotguns are too long, with their cheek 4 inches away from their thumb. Wow. That's an ill-fitting shotgun. That lady could shoot so much better if someone would take a hacksaw to that stupid stock and shorten it up so it would fit her. Another thing happens there. Now you've put all the recoil energy closer to the mass, i.e. your body. So there's all kinds of little things that people should recognize about how a shotgun works and not obsess over how much more they're going to hog out their loading port.
The number 1 most popular 3-Gun Show podcast of 2015 is another one that I traveled for. And my shooting buddy Bill talked me into traveling for this one. I had already picked up the recording equipment, and I knew I wanted to do these interviews face to face. And Bill's like, "Hey, come on down to Raton. It's only 3.5 hours away. For Rocky Mountain 3-Gun." Bill was gracious enough to let me camp out on the floor of his hotel room one night, and the next day I met a bunch of amazing people, and I got an interview with the legend Jerry Michalek, who turns out to be like the also not only like a superhuman shooter, but like the world's most normal guy. We talked about like repairing stuff and using coat hangers as a welding rod, and but my favorite part of that interview is when Jerry talks about Lena. He's visibly and audibly proud of his daughter and her accomplishments, and the way she trains and the way she's adapted to the game. And that breaks into an amazing talk about vision and shooting. So you don't shoot shotgun with Lena because she'd smoke you on it?
Yeah, she will smoke me really bad. So really bad. Yeah, she had to pull. She shot the last championship there, the one at Rock House, and came in 3rd overall.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Overall, so there's no way I'm gonna get on the line next to her. So I'll stick in my open division, go hide somewhere in a corner.
Nice. Let her have her day, and you'll do the open.
Yeah, they're getting ready to go to the World Championships in Italy, so they're working at it really hard. So
she's got a title to defend, right?
Yep. That was her first world title last, I guess, 2 years ago now. So she's pretty stoked up and ready to fly. So.
Yeah, the look on your face looks like you're stoked up too about it.
Yeah, she does good. You know what's amazing was when she started really shooting competitive, I could tell her things, and she could pick it up and see exactly the way I see. And I've trained a bunch of folks through the years, and she's the only one I could tell something like that visual. And this game is such a visual performance. A lot of people think it's very physical or it's very technical. It's not. It's a vision game. If those who see the fastest are going to always execute the fastest. And I can explain a vision technique that might have taken me 15 years to see and duplicate on command. Like when I do a Smith & Wesson demo or a performance in front of a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have your visual clues in order before you attempt that stunt, it's not going to happen. And I could tell her, and she could pick it up in just a few minutes. And it was stunning to me that she could pick that up.
So give me an example of like those type of visual cues that you're talking about.
Soft focus. A lot of people don't know how to soft focus on targets, and the gun gets in the way. That's a very basic problem. They're looking at the target so hard, next thing you know, that gun gets in the way. Well, where did this thing come from? Well, you should have seen it way before it got under your dominant eye. You know, seeing more than one target at a time. Being able to see more than maybe 3 targets at a time. Interact, your field of view is always what I'm working on when I'm trying to shoot. And when I do my drills, I want to have a huge field of view because the more you see, the more you can interact with. Knowing where to look and how much to look. You can stare something to death and you don't really need it. If you got a target 5 feet away, it doesn't take much skill to get that front sight in the middle of this brown piece of paper and put 2 shots in it.
Right.
So knowing how to look soft and keep the gun in focus when even it was not the full extension or the vision skills. It's just hard to explain, but it's everything in this game. If you watch the guys who really shoot fast, they know how to see fast.
Now, the final clip I have for you is from Matt Burkett. And, back in the day, Matt had the Predator Tactical podcast. And, he covered some 3-gun topics and some long-range topics. And, various other practical shooting topics as well. And when that went away, it left a hole. And that was, inspiration for the 3-Gun Show podcast. Matt was definitely my most controversial guest. But the things that Matt has to say about the game is absolutely correct and spot on. And he actually... in this clip here, he said something about life that I think is quite interesting and, really hit me at a good time.
It's so powerful that things that are visualized will seem more real than the actual event itself. That's how creative our brain is. And the more you visualize, the more you get that down, the more when you go do the event, whatever it is, but in competition shooting, you got that wonderful beep. Well, when that goes, your body's going to do what you've already programmed it to do.
If I have like a high stress job, worked hard all week and I'm just like on edge, almost yelling at the family, kicking the dog type thing, but I know I got a match tomorrow. What should I do to get myself prepared for that match and make sure it's a good match and I don't bring any of that negative energy with me?
The first thing I would do would be to call my boss and quit. Why are you doing this for a living? I mean, and it's something out there. It's something that's so important. This is your life. Okay. There's no Super Bowl party at the end. Every day and every play make a difference.
So that's it. That is the highlight reel, the I guess best of 2015 for the 3-Gun Show podcast. 2015 was amazing, and I appreciate you coming along this ride with me and listening to each of these podcasts. Talking, emailing me, talking to me on social media, coming up to me in matches and stuff like that, and letting me know that this is actually doing something for you. I think it's great. And I know this has changed the way I look at my 3-gun game. And from the feedback I've received, it's done that for a lot of people as well. And this this is surprisingly hard to put together because there were so many great moments in and in every episode of the podcast. So it was hard to pick out just a few, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great rest of your 2015 and make some goals for 2016. Make some huge stretch goals for 2016, whether it be in 3-gun or in life or whatever, and set them up and smash them. As of right now, the show has 75,000 downloads, and it's been like 9 months. So, I'm calling this a success for the year, and I'm definitely going to be doing it in 2016 and for the foreseeable future. I'm going to be doing some other stuff too. So I picked up a video camera and going to SHOT Show. So like the podcast, it's going to be as good as I can do in the beginning, but I'll get better. It's going to be cool to have a visual component or supplement to the podcast, on YouTube and Facebook. So, keep an eye peeled for that. Everything I discuss in this episode, including links to each one of the shows that I reference, can be found at 3gunshow.com/episode 52. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, subscribing to the show all year. I'll catch you in 2016.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.